Here in Washington, the federal government shutdown has now stretched into its fourth week, marking a grim milestone. As of yesterday, the partial closure reached 22 days, making it the second longest in United States history. The political stalemate shows no signs of breaking, as the Senate on Tuesday once again failed to advance a Republican-backed stopgap funding measure. The vote of 54 to 46 fell short of the 60 votes needed to end debate and move toward a final vote. This marks the 12th time since September 19th that such a measure has failed along nearly identical party line results. Nearly all Republicans have supported the continuing resolution, which would fund the government at existing levels, while it has been opposed by all but a handful of Democrats. President Donald Trump stated earlier this week that he will not meet with Democratic leaders to negotiate until they approve the GOP's funding resolution, leaving the two sides at a firm impasse. As the shutdown wears on, its effects are deepening for the hundreds of thousands of federal employees who are either furloughed or working without pay. In response, a bipartisan group of senators is pushing for a new bill aimed at alleviating some of that financial pressure. The legislation, introduced last week by Republican Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin and dubbed the Shutdown Fairness Act, would ensure that active-duty military troops and other accepted federal workers receive their paychecks on time. These are employees whose jobs are deemed essential for national security or public safety, such as air traffic controllers and border patrol agents, and who have remained on the job since the shutdown began. Senator Johnson described the measure as a permanent fix to protect these workers in any future shutdown. However, many Democrats have voiced objections, arguing that it's a piecemeal approach that lessens the pressure on lawmakers to negotiate a full reopening of the government. They have suggested they may introduce an alternative bill, but for now, the path forward remains unclear, and there is no end to the shutdown in sight. In other political news, a major challenge is brewing within the Democratic Party in California. State Senator Scott Wiener, a prominent progressive voice from San Francisco, announced on Wednesday his campaign to unseat former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. In a social media post launching his bid for the congressional seat, Wiener stated, quote, "I'll fight day and night for our city, against Trump's takeover, for our values, and for real progress." The move sets up a high-profile primary battle against one of the most powerful and long-serving figures in the Democratic Party. Pelosi has represented the San Francisco-based district for nearly 40 years, and despite no longer being Speaker, remains a top party leader and a formidable fundraiser. This contest is being viewed as a significant clash between two wings of the party. Pelosi is widely seen as a member of the party's old guard, an establishment figure known for her strategic command of the House. Wiener, in contrast, is a leading figure in the party's progressive wing, known for championing more aggressive policies on social and environmental issues. His challenge suggests a growing appetite among some Democrats for a new generation of leadership and a more left-leaning agenda. This primary will be closely watched as a bellwether for the direction of the Democratic Party, testing the enduring power of its established leaders against the energy of its progressive base in one of the nation's most liberal districts. Meanwhile, in a more collaborative effort on Capitol Hill, a Senate committee is exploring ways to tackle one of the most persistent issues for American families: the high cost of health care. The Senate Aging Committee held a hearing yesterday afternoon focused on a concept gaining traction among policy experts: shoppable healthcare services. The central idea is to bring price transparency to the medical field, allowing patients to compare costs for non-emergency procedures and services, much like they would for any other major purchase. Proponents argue that if patients could easily see the price of an MRI, a blood test, or a knee surgery at different hospitals and clinics, it would introduce competition into the marketplace and naturally drive down costs. The hearing, titled "Lowering Healthcare Costs: how shoppable services improve outcomes and lower costs, examined how this model could be implemented and its potential impact, particularly for seniors who are often on fixed incomes and face significant medical expenses. Experts who testified likely discussed the technological and logistical hurdles to creating a user-friendly system for price comparison, as well as the potential for improved patient outcomes. The theory is that an empowered, price-conscious patient is more likely to engage with their own healthcare, choose higher-value providers, and avoid unnecessary procedures. While no legislation was voted on, the hearing represents a bipartisan effort to find market-based solutions to a problem that has vexed lawmakers for decades, signaling a potential area of common ground in an otherwise divided Washington. Finally, a new study is providing compelling evidence in the ongoing debate over the role of technology in schools. Preliminary research on Florida's statewide ban on cell phone use in public schools indicates the policy has been effective, yielding positive results in its first 2 years. The study, conducted by the prestigious RAND Corporation and the University of Rochester, found a slight but statistically significant increase in student test scores, as well as a notable reduction in unexcused absences since the ban was implemented. Florida's law, which took effect in May of 2023, is one of the strictest in the nation. It mandates a bell-to-bell ban, meaning students cannot use their phones at any point during the school day, and it also restricts access to social media on any school-issued devices. The findings suggest that reducing the constant distraction of smartphones allows for a more focused learning environment. The results are particularly significant as Florida's policy has served as a model for legislation in 29 other states that have since implemented their own restrictions on student cell phone use. The research published by the National Bureau of Economic Research adds a crucial data point to a conversation that has often been driven by anecdotal evidence. Beyond the cell phone ban, the policy experts involved in the study also advocated for a broader move toward low-tech classrooms. They suggest that schools could also benefit from restricting certain functions on student laptops to keep them focused on the task at hand, and from actively encouraging more traditional activities like reading and face-to-face conversation to foster critical thinking and interpersonal skills.